Tariff deals, weather delays, and shifting global demand are shaking up the grains and oilseeds markets. From bullish bets on European wheat to bearish pressure on corn and soy, we break down what's fueling the rally hopes and what could still derail them. I'm Johanna Bota, and joining us today is Bertrand Oesterle, StoneX's VP of Clearing and Execution Sales. Welcome back, Bertrand. Nice to have you with us. So I wanted to start with the recent deals that President Trump has been making with various nations and how they're affecting or impacting grains and oilseeds.
So indeed, the deals have been coming fast over the past week, and Trump is putting some success under his belt. So we've had the EU US, the US South Korea today, US Japan, for example. Then Trump mentioned that Australia might buy US beef for the very first time. Bangladesh is trying to sweeten the negotiations by pledging to buy 220,000 tons on the tender in wheat. And Trump is carrying on, saying that it's going well with China, so they've extended the pause for 90 days and it's coming. And he's trying to put pressure on India by saying by tomorrow, the 1st of August, it's 25% unless we have an 11th hour deal.
And a penalty on top for buying from Russia.
Exactly. So what is interesting in that sense is not how many deals are coming through. I'll look at it in a reversed manner. So 2nd of April, chaos all over, the tariffs are on, markets fall. Now that the deals are coming through, we could expect the reverse, that is to say, markets going back up. And when we look at the Eurodollar, we're starting to see a bit of a reversal. So we've mentioned the Eurodollar on December 25 quite a few times, because we look at the deck 25 for Paris wheat against Chicago wheat arbitrage, for example. On the 2nd of April, it was 109.50. It went to a high of 119.51. Yesterday, we fell back down to 115, and we're around the 115.40 mark. So there's definitely a reversal on some part of that Eurodollar move that we've seen with the tariff chaos as the deals are coming through. And it's becoming very important, very specifically crucial for Paris wheat. It's becoming an element of competitiveness because the euro is falling. It makes European exports suddenly cheaper, and it provides a potential for a bounce. And farmers have picked up on this and have added a few elements which are interesting to discuss. We are the 31st of July. The 15th of August, we're going to have the September option expiries. The specs will have to roll from now until potentially the 18th, 19th or 20th of September, because after the option expiry, those futures of the options will settle, and the funds usually don't want to be in the contract post-option expiry for that long. So when we look at the figures, they're huge. Yesterday, we had a report from Euronext saying that the specs are short some 267.7 thousand lots. The funds are actually shorter, some 275,500 lots. And the open interest this morning is still huge. It's 288.4 thousand lots. So there's an awful lot to roll from now to option expiry. And so the farmers are saying we're starting to have a fund roll that's going to happen, which may be put under the magnifying glass because of the euro move. Beyond that, we're starting to see some issues that we didn't have a week ago, and they are threefolds. So first of all, when we look east to the Black Sea region, the Russians have been very slow to bring wheat to market, so to the ports. Some have said that it's because they've rebuilt stocks. Some others have said because the harvest is not that good. Whether we look at it one way or the other, those arrivals are slow, and it means less of a competition for their neighbors like Bulgaria or Romania. And the farmers in Bulgaria and Romania, despite having some very good crops, are playing the selling retention game. So that adds on to a bit of bullishness. The farmers are not selling. On top of it, over the past week and a half, we've had torrential rains in parts of northern Germany, Poland, Ukraine. So the Ukrainians are not exporting as fast either because they've got some logistical issues because of the rain. Then the northern Germans are questioning the advancement of their harvest and the potential impact on quality. And it's even worse for Poland. Poland is only 20% harvested. We're very surprised by the fact that it's so slow, and they may have more feed wheat because of those untimely rains. And then the last bit is the French, which for weeks we've said they can't be competitive. They've seen, and that's what the physical market is telling us, Eastern European prices go up by more than their current prices recently. So it suddenly puts the French market in focus. The French harvest is almost finished. It is safe, it's not affected by rain, and they've got quality that maybe Northern Germany or Poland won't have. So we get into a situation where we could have, according to some, a decent rally in Europe because the funds need to roll, the euro is correcting, and we've got the farmer retention in Eastern Europe, the lack of presence from Russia, and the uncertainty about the harvest progress and quality in Northern Europe.
So, looks like after weeks of bearish vibes, basically, wheat bulls might finally get their wheat rally. What could spoil the party?
So in terms of wheat rally first, I'm going to give you some indications of what the market is talking about. For September wheat, which is currently below 200, people are talking, for those who are the less bullish, a potential rally to 205, 206. Farmers are talking 210, 220. It's going to be interesting to see if we get to those targets, because we've got a 100-day moving average at 208 and a 200-day moving average at 218. The SEPDEX spread, which has been our barometer for the spec presence in Paris wheat, has rallied to minus 650. So it is indicating that it may go up. People are starting to feel that we may go to flat, if not positive. And people are trying to position themselves by looking at the SEPDEX to see how much it could push the deck March, and then potentially sell the deck March once the roll gets off the board. Now, in terms of what could derail the rally, the rest of the world is going pretty well. So our bears are saying what we've just mentioned is just an EU issue. It's just a displacement from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, or it is a consideration of potentially lesser quality in North Europe compared to better quality in France. So the bears are saying it's an EU issue.
So can you break it down then in country-wise? So like in the US, for example.
So in the US, the wheat harvest is progressing. It's 80% harvested in winter wheat. The spring wheat is starting to be harvested. So we had a report from the USDA on Monday showing that it's just 1% harvested so far in spring wheat. And we're hearing from our colleagues in the US that spring wheat yields may be better than anticipated. Okay. Then when we look elsewhere, we're starting to get some good figures as well from Canada. So we had LSAG looking at 35.15 million tons of production. And we heard also that Australia had had some very good July rains, and that could push the production above the 33 million ton mark. So compared to 34 last year, or the 5-year average of 33.8 million tons.
What about corn? So
corn is still looking really good in the US. The crop conditions are 73% good to excellent. There's still some 9% better than the 5-year average of 64%. And despite continued talk of pollination issues in various parts of the Midwest, the yield estimates are still around the 181 mark. And on the back of those good crop conditions, we've got a lot of bears thinking that the WASDE report that's coming early August may show an increase in yields, and the speculation that it could be 185 all the way to 190. Now, interestingly, we're going to have a customer survey out of our US participants. It's coming out next week, and it's going to be interesting to see what our participants are going to tell us in terms of their expectation in corn yields. At the same time, the South Americans are still very present. So we've seen, for example, Argentina reducing its corn export tax from 12% to 9.5%. And we've seen Argentina sending some test corn to Vietnam. So that comes to, in a way, put a spanner in the work for Trump with his US-Vietnam deal, for example. And for Brazil, Datagro came in with a crop estimate for the next crop, which is even higher, of 140.9 million tons.
Okay.
So overall, the specs are still very short in corn, some 263,000 lots short. And that's despite the good consumer interest we've seen on the international tenders over the past week, with South Korea coming in for over 1 million ton of corn tenders. We've seen Mexico with 300,000 tons, and we've got Iran looking for 120,000 tons.
So, Bert, I'm a little confused then. Wasn't there just a heat wave in the EU? So why is corn trading like this?
So the EU, you're right to mention it. We're still very uncertain about the EU. So as I walked into the room, the EU Commission was saying that the production in the EU might be just over 60 million tons and not 64.6 million tons as expected last month. But when I mentioned that there was excessive rain in part of Eastern Europe for wheat, delaying the wheat harvest, it means that that rain is somehow beneficial to the maize in Europe. So we're still at a stage where we're uncertain as to how much heat damage has been realized and how much beneficial rain came to help the maize crop. So we're still trying to assess that element. And when we look, for example, at Agrimaire, which gives us the maize conditions in France, they're 69% good to excellent. So yes, they've dropped another 3% from last week. They've dropped from 85% early June, and they're lower than the 82% 5-year average. So yes, we have still an issue, but that issue may be mitigated by the fact that we've had recent beneficial rains. And when we look at the consumption side, the consumption doesn't seem to be that in a hurry to buy maize straight away and to panic. We've seen the imports so far from the EU being reported at 555,000 tons. That's way lower than the 2.1 million tons we had at this time at the start of the previous season. And it shows in a way that consumers are waiting. Why are they waiting? Because they hear the noise about quality potential issues in wheat in Germany and Poland that might provide feed wheat, and instead of buying maize, you would buy feed wheat.
Okay, so we've talked enough about wheat and corn. What about oilseeds?
So oilseed is comforting the bear side and the potential limit on the wheat rally. Very similarly to corn in the US, the crop conditions are still very good in the US for soybean. They're 70% good to excellent. They've regained 3% from the previous week. That's 8% beyond or above the 5-year average of 62%. And similarly to corn, we've got a WASDE report in August. People are expecting the USDA to potentially increase the yields to 53, 54 bushel per acre. Again, we've got a crop survey that's coming next week out of our US colleagues. We'll watch that with caution. And very similarly to corn again, the South Americans are present. So the Argentine, for example, have reduced their export tax from 33% to 26%. And in soybean for Brazil, the new crop could be a massive amount as well.
Okay. So as I understand it then, wheat's got potential, but corn and soy could weigh it down, right? Any other developments to note?
So in terms of other developments, we have rapeseed. So rapeseed, like maize, there's been some harvest delays there and there. We've had an EU Commission figure coming out this morning of 18.6 million tons. It seems very low. Most people are around the 20, 21 million ton mark, more 20. It might be a bit lower, but people are asking, is the harvest in rapeseed delayed? Is it causing some quality or quantity issues as well due to those rains in Eastern Europe? In terms of imports, the imports are also lower than last year. So demand is not yet certain, and we see it also in the export figures of Ukraine, for example. And the last bit I would mention is an oddity, and that is China in oilseeds. We've seen reports that China's crush has been very strong since June, and having been so strong, China has become a short-term exporter of soybean oil, and we've seen India buying 150,000 tons of soybean oil from China, which is, again, an oddity. And the last bit, China is starting to push a policy to try to say that they want a lesser use of soybean meal in the feed rations in China for animal feed. And here we're all uncertain. Is it a real policy, or is it a way to say we're going to import less soy meal, see the price go even lower, and then buy?
I see. Well, thank you, Bertrand, for all your insights. And thank you for watching. For more financial content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.